I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, September the 24th. And sarcastically, this just in, there's a lot of cattle on feed. We've known that for quite some time here. We've known it for the better part of the last 2 years, as I think this is the 20th report out of the last 21 that there was more cattle on feed than the one before. Yes, it's going to be a little bearish or a fair amount bearish because of the placement value that's so hard to predict, that was quite a bit larger than what the average of the analyst guess figure was. So yes, there's going to be some bearishness to it. We're not sure how much it's going to affect the market, as cash feeders have really been on fire here the last 2 or 3 weeks, and there's still a lot of demand for them right in the middle of harvest, whenever you most of your on-farm storage is full. A lot of your elevators are full of grain right now, and there's no place to put this. There's going to be a lot of it piled up on the ground, and it's just a good option for a lot of these guys, especially up there in the corn belt, to walk that corn to town. And they're going to be wanting yearling feeder cattle, even big feeding calves. There's going to be a lot of fall grazing, so guys are going to want those. And we've just seen, like I said, the last couple of weeks, these auction sales have just been on fire, and they were right up till the end of the week last week. And I expect there to be good demand again coming into your high volume Monday sales. Whether it's enough pressure from the cattle on feed report to hurt the market, to even make it drift lower, or maybe just hold in there steady for a few days till folks kind of forget about it, and then it'll start to gain ground again. And that's what I kind of expect to happen. But look at the board for last week. Your October live cattle futures ended the week at 113.07, down 73 cents for the week. December ended at 118.45, which was actually 40 cents higher than the end of the previous week. October feeder cattle 158.07 to finish last week, down 80 cents. And September ended at 156.95, down 47 cents for the week. Your fat cattle trade, they did have quite a bit of trade on Thursday. So through Thursday of last week, had 42,200 head in the 5-area feeding region. Most all of it was in the northern plains, and most of that dress basis at 175, which would have been steady with the previous week. There was some live trade in the northern plains before Friday, and it was 110 to 111.50, just steady to a pinch lower. And that's kind of the way the packers were trying to get things headed, to be steady to a pinch lower, and that's kind of the way they ended up getting it done. But in the southern plains, your sellers hung out and would not take lower bids, ended up getting 111, which would have been steady with the previous week. And so then there was a little bit more trade in the northern plains on Friday. Late in the afternoon it was mostly at 111, but earlier in the day at 110.50. So, you know, maybe 50 cents lower, steady to 50 cents lower, maybe spots $1 lower in the northern plains, but basically steady on your fat cattle trade last week. And I guess that's not all bad, with the board working against the market pretty much all week until Friday. And then everybody kind of expecting a bearish cattle on feed report, which shouldn't have anything to do with your current fat cattle trade, but it always does because it's cattle. But box beef cutout values, the average trade for last week on choice cuts, 204.98, down 11 cents compared to the previous week's weighted average. So that's not bad at all, and that shows that maybe we are finding some footing here seasonally on your box beef cutout values. Select cuts 195.33, down 231 compared to the weighted average from the previous week's trades, but that gives a choice select spread of $9.65, and there was good movement of almost 700 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter for last week, 657,000, very commendable, one of our biggest ones for the year. It was 5,000 more than the previous weeks and 19,000 more than the same week a year ago. Now that cattle on feed report, we are going to talk about that The report come out with September 1st inventories at 105.9. That was just marginally higher than the average of the analyst guess, which was 105.5. Your placements, 107.3 come out on the report. Now that is significantly larger than the 104.8 that was expected. Fed cattle marketing's very close, and it always is, 100.2% compared to 100 even. But your increase on cattle on feed is mostly on lighter weights, moved in the center part of the country where they had the drought was so bad and they had to give those cows a break and get some of those calves moved off early. There was really no other place to take those calves to graze, and they did go into the feedlot, and so that was accounted for most of your increase in numbers on feed. But you know, just like I talked about when we started out this report, a lot of cattle on feed. There has been for a long time. The only way we can get that many more cattle on feed is to feed a lot of heifers, and we have been feeding a lot of heifers. Your heifer slaughter year to date is 8.6% higher than last year and 17% higher than the average of the previous 3 years. Think about how significant that is. And if we haven't been holding any heifers back, we've been feeding them and slaughtering them, then all that's going to come to fruit with supply down the road. And I'm expecting it to start hitting this fall and really see a significance as we get into next spring and the next 2 or 3 years after that. Your cow slaughter, not just dairies, but just beef cow slaughter so far this year, up 11.6% compared to last year and up 24.2% compared to the average of the previous 3 years. That is gigantic. So not only have we not been keeping any heifers back, we've been slaughtering a lot of beef cows, and a fair amount of those have been bred. So that's significant, and I just think that eventually we are going to get to the point where it's going to just cause bullishness after bullishness, and the market is going to respond. But look at your real-time index for last week. At the end of the week, 155.02. That's up $1.64 compared to the end of the previous week. Your cash feeders in your auctions, fully $3 to $7 higher with the full advance on yearling feeders. Your calves in the plains and the Midwest higher too, but in the Southeast only steady to $3 higher. It's still a couple 3 weeks early before guys get in the full run of ordering calves for winter wheat pasture and other grazing and forage, and even to put on feed. But let's look at some individual quotes from late last week. St. Ann, South Dakota sold 341 head of steers, weighed 987 at $148. Bloomington Livestock Exchange in Bloomington, Wisconsin sold a load of 777 pound steers at $166. And some import cattle from Mexico at the sale barn in Columbus, New Mexico, right on the border, 107 head of Mexican steers, weighed 661 at $160. Now that's your feeder flash for Monday.